Jesus' parable is called More is Not Enough, the Stone Cutter. There was once a stone cutter who was dissatisfied with himself and with his position in life. One day he passed a wealthy merchant's house. Through the open gateway he saw many fine possessions and important visitors. How powerful that merchant must be, thought the stone cutter. He became very envious and wished that he could be like the merchant. To his great surprise, he suddenly became the merchant, enjoying more luxuries and power than he had ever imagined, but envied and detested by those less wealthy than himself. Soon a high official passed by, carried in a sedan chair, accompanied by attendants and escorted by soldiers beating gongs. Everyone, no matter how wealthy, had to bow low before the procession. How powerful that official is, he thought. I wish I could be a high official. Then he became the high official, carried everywhere in his embroidered sedan chair, feared and hated by the people all around. It was a hot summer day, so the official felt very uncomfortable in the sticky sedan chair. He looked up at the sun. It shone proudly in the sky, unaffected by his presence. How powerful the sun is, he thought. I wish I could be the sun. Then he became the sun, shining fiercely down on everyone, scorching the fields, cursed by the farmers and laborers. But a huge black cloud moved between him and the earth, so that his light could no longer shine on everything below. How powerful that storm cloud is, he thought. I wish I could be a cloud. Then he became the cloud, flooding the fields and villages, shouted at by everyone. But soon he found that he was being pushed away by some great force and realized that it was the wind. How powerful it is, he thought. I wish that I could be the wind. Then he became the wind, blowing tiles off the roofs of houses, uprooting trees, feared and hated by all below him. But after a while, he ran up against something that would not move, no matter how forcefully he blew against it, a huge towering rock. How powerful that rock is, he thought. I wish that I could be a rock. Then he became the rock, more powerful than anything else on earth. But as he stood there, he heard the sound of a hammer pounding a chisel into the hard surface and felt himself being changed. What could be more powerful than I, the rock, he thought. He looked down and saw far below him the figure of a stonecutter.
Thank you, Leon. So now we simply open it up. Thoughts, questions, comments, feelings, emotions. What arose for you when sitting with this parable?
Well, what I kind of saw is that there's always something more, like in the parable, whenever he kept getting something more. But then even once he got what he thought was best, what he had originally still had things that were better. So I think where he went wrong and why it seemed like he kind of lost in the end was because he was always chasing the things that are better, even though he's never going to get to something that's the best, because there's really just nothing perfect. So, and at the same time, while he was doing that, everyone around him no longer liked him anymore because he was so focused on himself. Like, you know, he was like blowing tiles off the roofs and all that. So yeah, I think like the way this applies to our lives is just trying to accept like the goods and the bads. So yeah.
Thank you, Christopher.
Reminds me of that saying. My grandmother used to always has all these sayings, and it was always like, well, you know, the grass is always greener on the other side of the road.
I think for me, well, I agree with everything Christopher said. And then I think it also for me highlighted like the interconnectedness of all these people and things, and how what the stonecutter perceived as like wealth or power wasn't necessarily the true nature of these things. Like maybe these things were just all affecting each other. whether they were good or bad. So every time he would try to be the next thing, like he didn't necessarily feel like wealthy or powerful. And then, yeah, so I think that kind of showed like that that's not really how the world works. I think that there's potential in everything to be that.
Yeah.
Good. Thank you, Vanessa. Anyone else?
Well, what came to mind as I reflected on the parable was I think that if we're not distracted so much by things around us, what other people are doing and what other people possess and so forth, but just come back and stay centered and practice self-love, you appreciate just the way your life is panning out, the way that your life is opening up to you, and you attract blessings. So you don't need to be anybody else. You know, not that I'm perfect, but I love myself enough to think I am, I guess, you know. And you know, I mean I mean, you know, for lack of, this is my first time here, I don't know what terms to use.
You're doing great.
Okay, I guess what I'm saying is happiness comes from within. You know, it's not looking out there and trying to be somebody else or pretentious or anything. It's just being, accepting who you are with your flaws and with your imperfections and so forth, and seeing that, hey, you can be you can live a fulfilled life as you are.
Very good. Thank you, Laura. Who else?
Sure.
I felt a lot of the FOMO, fear of missing out. And I think that resonates really strong in my life, especially when I think about like Bitcoin and how I'd have so much money right now if I would have just bought it. So anyways, but I kind of remind myself that I really don't care about the money. And I kind of felt like the character really didn't care about the power or anything. He was just kind of doing it, or they were just kind of doing it to become something new, and it was never fulfilling, and it was never actually something that maybe they actually really wanted. So I guess going back to the desire thing, right? Like sometimes you just desire things and you don't really know why, and it's not very productive. And yeah, so something along the lines of fear of missing out and anxiety.
Thank you, Lance. And what Lance was referring to is to last week's Dharma talk, when we talked about desire. For those of you who are new to the group, if you go to our Facebook page, we have recordings of last week's, or the recordings of older meetings there, so you can refer to that. And Quantri, the monk at the temple, is also loading them to our YouTube channel. They're not loaded up as regularly as on the Facebook page. So usually within less than usually the Friday, the Friday after our meeting, I usually have a video up. So you can refer to those older videos then. So thank you, Lance, for that insight into the connection with previous meetings. Who else?
This is Meredith here. I was just gonna say what struck me about the story is how incessant it was. Like it was the next thing, and then it was the next thing, and it was the next thing, and it never stopped. And I will be the first to admit that I live in that state, and I'm trying not to, because I think at least for yes, it's hard. It's difficult, and I know sometimes, at least for higher education, that's almost bred into you, because it's like you plan for the next semester, and then you plan for, do you want to get into grad school, and then you plan for, do you want to get a PhD, and then do you want to get a job, and what do you want to do? So it's just like you're almost forced to not be present, and so I'm constantly trying to be present. So definitely could relate to this story.
Very insightful. Thank you, Meredith, and it's good to see you again.
Yes, sorry about being late. Good to
No
see you.
problems. You're here. That's what's important.
Yes.
All right. Anyone else?
We talked a lot about dissatisfaction, right? And so I think it's interesting that this whole story starts with the stonecutter's feeling of dissatisfaction. Something's not right in his life. If only I had, and I call this the phonelies. You had Lance had a good one, the FOMOs or the phonelies is, well, if I only had this, if I only had that, then I would be good, you know? So anyway, he started from a point of dissatisfaction. And then the story goes all the way around in a circle and ends up right where he started, back to himself. Because none of the others were, you know, he kept looking for something better, and kind of like Dorothy and waking up in her bed in Kansas after the trip, you know.
Thank you, Leon.
I find it almost frustrating that this story is so old, and as humans, we're still fighting this, myself included. And when my younger coworkers, I see them really struggling with it. I think as I've gotten older, I've gotten better. I'm not saying I'm cured by any means, but how frustrating that that's our human nature, and that they nailed it back then and we're still dealing with it. We haven't figured it out yet. It's just, oh man, just kind of makes me sad.
Very insightful, Patty. Thank you. Anyone else? I think most everyone commented. Anyone have questions or any follow-up? So really great insights, really great comments. I loved that there was no space for me to fill with noise. So I'm glad everyone contributed. It was fantastic. The common themes I was hearing is that we could all identify with this experience of kind of banging our heads against the wall, always wanting more, more, more. If only, fear of missing out, becoming something else. That this story is as old as probably humanity. These are all common themes. These are all parts of Buddhist philosophy. Now, a little bit of hope. The Buddha, when he was not creating, but when he was sort of organizing people into monasteries and things like that, his intent was not to proselytize. His intent was not to convert anyone. There's so many stories of people who just came to him, and I've yet to encounter any story where he went to anyone and said, no, I can think of one actually. There weren't many stories where the Buddha went out and sought, and told you, said, join Buddhism, be my follower. Very few of those. The idea being that Buddhism will appeal, the philosophy of Buddhism will appeal to those who are ready. And so having the initial insight that doing the same thing over and over again is not going to make me happy is the beginning of that wisdom, the beginning of getting out of what Buddhism called the cycle of suffering. Samsara is the word that's used. So there's hope for all of us here because we're obviously dissatisfied with the routine. We have a instinct, something within us tells us that there has to be more. And this was the same instinct that led Gautama Buddha to leave his royal palace and to seek out enlightenment. So you're in good company, right? You are seeking out, you're starting the path the right way. And the first steps is being mindful of how are you involved in this cycle of suffering on a regular basis, and how are you going to pull yourself out of that? And there are many things that we can do. And we talk a little bit, I think every time we have a discussion on Buddhism, there's something there for us to take to sort of help us get out of that cycle. So just a message of hope. We're on the right path, or at least we're starting the path in a very similar way to the enlightened Buddha. Good. We had 12 minutes left, but as always, we don't need to fill the full hour. And we usually do end early for these parable meetings, but I do want to give people another chance, one more opportunity to comment, questions. It could be questions about anything regarding Buddhism. Just open it up for the next minute here.
Well, Alexander, just a quick question. I know you mentioned it when I first joined. So this is the third Tuesday of the month, right? This is the third one. So next Tuesday is skipped, and then it'll be until next month.
Yeah. Yes. So our next meeting will be June 1st.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank
so
you.
2 weeks from today. Yeah. Well, good. I'm glad you liked it enough to be curious about when the next meeting is.
Oh yeah, I loved it. Yeah, I didn't know what to expect, but had an idea. I think a smidget of a past recording. I was going to come on maybe 2-3 weeks ago, and then I went on vacation. But I did get a smidget, so
Good.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And for those of you who are not on Meetup or Facebook, that's a primary way of communicating for this group. Is meetup.com or facebook.com. And so if you have something against Facebook, then join meetup.com. It's a free login, and then find the San Antonio Buddhist Temple, and you'll find information there. The same information I post on Facebook, I'll post there. The only thing is Meetup does not have a place for me to post videos of older meetings. So you'll still need to either have a Facebook account and look up the previous meetings there, or wait until Master Thich Quan Tri uploads the next batch of videos to the YouTube channel. So if you go to youtube.com, and the way I found it is to do a search for Phuoc, Phuoc space Hure, which is the Vietnamese name of the temple. So Phuoc. If you do that search on YouTube, you'll find recordings there of the Meditation 101 meeting, which is a different meeting, and then the Buddhism 101 meeting, which is this meeting. And I think there may be some services there as well. Any other comments or anything else anyone wants to ask?
Just a reminder that this Sunday, instead of our regular service at the temple, we're going to have a celebration called Phuoc, and it's the celebration of Buddha's birth. And we have it's probably about a 2-hour service or so. And it's just really beautiful. There's some rituals that we go through to honor our ancestors, and then we have a thing where there's a bowl with a statue of baby Buddha, and you come present yourself to the statue, and there's a ladle and water, and you actually pour water over the statue of the baby Buddha. And it's a very beautiful experience. So I'd encourage you either join us online if you want, or we're actually you're welcome to come to the temple now because of the new COVID restrictions being lifted. So just wanted to let everybody know about that. And that'll start at, rather than 12:30, that's going to start at 10 o'clock this coming Sunday, the 23rd.
Leon, if you don't mind me asking, and I don't know if you know the answer, when will is the temple now open officially for us to start meeting there, or are we still waiting for the fall?
I don't know the answer to that. It's been really ambiguous. And then, when we got, I think the abbot was planning to open as per normal for VSAC, but it was all depending on the COVID and the masking and all that. So, now that, I think we need to probably ask Quang Tri to just give us some guidance on that, because I'm not sure it's spelled out in black and white yet. But that would be, whether the temple's officially open now and whether we're required to wear masks and all that. So
Okay, so everyone stay tuned. I will make an announcement on the Facebook page and on the
that's
meetup
great.
group.
Yeah, that's good.
And
And
so
we'll try to get this nailed down so that Alex can communicate to you a little bit more accurately than I'm doing.
oh, and more, yeah, and obviously you have more information than I do, so you're doing a better job than me. So yes, we will find that out for everyone, and then start planning what will be next. For those of you who really enjoy the online format, we're going to make attempts at trying to incorporate the Zoom meetings during the in-person meetings, so that those of you who are unable to make it in person will still be able to join us over Zoom. Okay. So we'll work something out, and we will give you all the details once this happens, and we'll give you enough notice. It's not like June 1st. Oh, hey, we're all meeting at Temple now. We'll give you at least a month notice so you can plan accordingly.
Oh, sorry. And
Go ahead.
on the emails that Quang Tri sends, I don't know how many of y'all get them, but he says for Sunday services and the meditation classes on Saturdays that you can come in person, but it's also virtual. But he says for this class that it's virtual. So I don't know if that helps, but.
Okay. Yeah, for right now, we're staying virtual. So just for right now, assume virtual. And then once that changes, we will let everyone know. I'm also looking at the meetup group, and I have not updated the calendar for the upcoming meeting. So I will do that this week. What I'm going to try and do is have the same Zoom link for every meeting. So I'm going to try it out. Before, I had a different Zoom a different Zoom address for each meeting, because it allowed me to separate first, second, and third Tuesday. But I'm going to see if I can figure out a way to have the same address for all of the meetings. So that might make it easier for people who want to bookmark the Zoom link. All right. Laura, did you raise your hand to say goodbye, or do you have something you need to add?
No, I have something to ask both either one of you. So I noticed the service for Sunday Phuoc is scheduled from 10 to 12. Is it an itinerary to participate and get the full benefit of it? Do I have to be online or at person for the 2 hours?
So the 2-hour ceremony, there are just different things that occur during the ceremony.
Okay.
If you feel like you don't know if you can be there the full 2 hours, then just join in online, and you can pop in and out as needed online. You would simply go to the Facebook page, and you'll just watch the live stream for the temple.
Okay.
Okay. And yeah. All right. Any other questions?
Yes, for someone that's never stepped foot into a temple, is there etiquette, or is there something I need to know?
Yeah. You know what?
I mean, I don't know.
That is a fantastic question. So here's what I'm going to try and do. At the very least, Leon and I will review a document that I have that's several years old. We'll review it, and we'll send that document out that has some basic etiquette for us, and then etiquette for any temple. So that way you feel a little more confident when you go visit any Buddhist temple. And what I'm going to try and do is actually create a video that will help sort of cover some of the etiquette and actually tour the temple, so that individuals who might be hesitant can at least watch the video first and feel comfortable with what the etiquette would be to join us for in-person meetings. So that's good. I will make a note of that to make sure that that comes out. Okay, Patty? Okay.
Yeah, that would be great. I just, that's probably my only hesitation is it's a complete unknown to me.
And you're not, yeah, and you're not the first to say that. And so I think we need to do a better job of addressing it. And so we'll have multiple ways of addressing it.
I second that. That would be helpful. Thank you for bringing that up.
All right, good. It will get done.